It's a good day to have a good day. Hello, everybody. My name's Cece Ray. Thanks for joining me here at Break the Dish, where we break the news and dish out the tea. My breakers, we are getting ready to recap the Real Housewives of Potomac Season 10 Reunion Part 1. Wow. We are just getting into it on this episode, and I think it's only going to get better and better. It was a packed season with a lot of things going on. After watching the reunion, I thought, God, this has really been a long season. I mean, it really has, don't you think? But we are getting ready to get into it. Before we do, you know what to do. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, because here we break the dish. We are recapping the Real Housewives of Potomac, Season 10, Reunion Part 1. This episode starts out with the cameras going back up a week after, Wendy and her husband Eddie were arrested. They do flashbacks about how when she joined the show, she joined in 2020, leading up to this point. They're filming in their home. She's coming down the steps in pajamas, basically. This was such a forced scene. They really did not need the cameras to come back up. I mean, really. They really didn't need cameras to come back up for this, but we're going to talk about it anyway. So Eddie says to, Wendy that it really hit him when he was in the cell. He could hear Wendy on the phone with her sister. He could hear their daughter, who's the youngest one, Cameron, in the background. And Wendy was saying to her daughter that she was going to spend the night with her aunties. That's when it really hit Eddie the hardest. Wendy was saying, like, here she is telling her daughter this, but she wasn't really sure if she was going to be home the next day or not. She then asks Eddie, do you think our marriage is going to be impacted by this? Because she feels as though she's never going to be the same person again. And Eddie responds with, God has us. This was so forced. Like I said, there was no reason for cameras to go back up for this because, it was almost like production said, talk about what it was like to go to jail when you were arrested. That's it. That's all we're going to do. I mean, they could have done without it, to be quite honest. They now go 3 months later. This is when the reunion is filmed. Stacey and Ashley, they're the first ones out on the stage. And Andy comments, to Stacey that, he likes her dress. She says, why, thank you. It's a Nigerian designer. And Ashley says, yeah, it's the same dress I wore last reunion. Ashley has said this multiple times, and you've seen it multiple times, with Stacey wearing the same thing Ashley wore, like, literally. This girl is smart. Wendy's right, because she did that on purpose. Like, she did it to get a rise out of Ashley. She knew it would work, and it worked. Andy basically starts the reunion out expressing that the Real Housewives of Potomac, this is their anniversary season. They've been on a decade. Let's give them a round of applause. 10 years, 10 seasons. That's a huge accomplishment. He then, says to Giselle and Ashley, Grand Dame, Karen Huger was not there this season to film. And, they said that it was really tough without Karen. Giselle was like, I like to argue with her, pick a fight with her. Like, that's her battle buddy, you know. He then asked Wendy, because she's the next one down. She's been on, 5 years now. How it is now from when she started. And she says, when we started, I had just given birth 2 months before that to Cameron. And she was very unsure of herself. And throughout the seasons, it has really, sorry about that. It has really empowered her, you know? So then, Andy doesn't waste any time. He goes right to Wendy, wants to know what's happening in this case. She has 16 counts of alleged fraud. She can't talk about it. Let's be real. You know what I mean? So she says, the investigation is still ongoing. They've had court appearances, and it has been a really trying time for their family. She said that her daughter, the youngest one, is not aware of what is going on, but Carter, her oldest, is. Apparently, when he found out that they were going to be staying the night at his auntie's house with his grandmother, he thought that was weird. He opened his phone, and there it was. He never said anything to his auntie or grandmother, went to sleep that night. So when Wendy and Eddie picked the kids up the next day, he started bursting in tears. So from that point on, they have promised him that every time they have a court appearance or something is going on, they tell him ahead of time so that he is not blindsided, which is good. But they do have young children. I mean, my heart really goes out to those kids. Andy was questioning about those mugshots. Remember those crazy mugshots? Well, Wendy said that the person taking her picture kept saying, like, let's get another shot. Let's get another shot. Almost like it was like a photo shoot. Really? So that's why she has that look in her mugshot. Eddie had been sleeping in the cell, so they woke him up to actually get his picture done. And that's why, he's like this, and because he had just woken up, But then she says that this was really interesting, how she didn't realize, lose your freedom is a whole other ballgame. She said they dictate when you sleep, dictate when you wake up. You have no control of the lights. So when lights are out, they expect you to go to sleep. And when lights come back up, this is when you wake up, I can imagine. Ashley, first Giselle says, she's a little concerned because when Karen went to jail and started serving her sentence, that is, Wendy, the one thing she kept saying is, I can't believe that tomorrow morning she's going to wake up in prison. And Giselle says, but here you are describing it like it's a walk in the park. Like, are you okay? She's like, no, I'm not okay, but I will be okay. And then Ashley kind of chimes in that, one of her biggest fears is going to jail. And now 2 ladies from this group have gone to jail. And that terrifies her. Yeah, I could see why. You know what I mean?
Hi everyone, Cece Ray here. I wanted to tell you about one of my favorite, and I do mean favorite, websites for savings, and we all love savings. It is called Morning Save, and I'm going to show you why. Okay, so see this? Now, I'm showing you this for a reason, okay? This is Dermalactives. It's a 7-in-1 LED light therapy mask. Now, you and I both know you can't find this for less than $100 anywhere, okay? I bought this for $39. Matter of fact, I bought one for my daughter too, and I bought it for $39 at Morning Save. Now, they not only just have beauty products, I mean, they have everything from fashion, home interior, organization, even sometimes cleaning supplies. But there is a catch. If you find something on that website and you don't buy it immediately, it could be gone, just like that, because they only have so much inventory. And when it's sold out, it's sold out. So make sure you visit Morning Save, go to the link in my description down below, and start all of your incredible savings.
So now we're moving on to the lovely Stacey Rusch. You know, she named her cannabis line Shayo, which means happy in Nigerian. I mean, they flashed back to when she was telling Stacey this, and Wendy this, and when Wendy looks right at the camera, "Are you serious right now?" I don't even know what to say about that, just to be quite honest. She was in Vanity Fair. She was voted Best Performance for 2025. And the question is the word performance. This is what the ladies have said for now 2 seasons, that she is not authentic, that she is performing. Her QVC, her time on QVC has come to light on social media. People are watching different clips of her being on there. And she says, there's no difference. Yeah, there is no difference. That's the point everyone's making. You perform on QVC. You're performing on Real Housewives of Potomac. That has always been the lady's issue with her. Well, not the only one, but you know what I mean. Tia even says that on one of the cast trips, she was sitting in front of Stacey, and she did not know that Stacey was behind her, because when she's not on camera, her voice is a little bit different. It's a little bit lower, and the tones are a little bit lower. And Stacey says to Tia, when you have that English accent, she's from the UK. Hello? Just because she's married to an American and she has American children, you think her accent's going to change? Are you joking? That's just pure ignorance. I mean, really, it is pure ignorance. And then, of course, Tia comes back with, well, you tried to marry up. Yikes. Then Andy reminds everybody that a year ago, on last year's reunion, it came out that she was paying TJ to do the show, which she denies. At the Pony event, Timo came to the Pony event to see Wendy and Eddie, but yet would not go to the dinner with Wendy and Eddie. And that was, a big thing, because she said he was not going to be in town. But really, it was because of last season. He was not comfortable with Wendy and Eddie, because they were the ones that, TJ told on the phone to Eddie, remember this, that, Stacey was paying him. Okay. Then Andy says, by rolling the tape, the timeline that you gave, that you stated was not the truth, basically. She said that Timo would not be talking about the dinner that Tia was arranging for, all three couples. She said he would not be back till next week, but then the night of the dinner, she said he just flew in the morning. And Tia says to Stacey, the minute you got called out on that, you started lying on me. And she did. She really did. That is called deflection. Stacey then turns around and says to Tia, well, you didn't come to our home to get to know us, our family. You were just clocking in information for your master. Looking at Giselle. Giselle's like, who, me? Like, another deflection. That's what Stacey's good at. She lies and then deflects. Lies and then deflects. Tia says, that the context is very important because she became uncomfortable when she found out what Stacey had repeated to Monique's ex-husband, Chris Samuels, and how it affected her family. And then they flash back to Tia at Stacey's home, asking Stacey, do you know Chris Samuels? And she responds, oh, no, I just know him socially. And Tia even asks her, so he never talks to you like about his divorce or anything? No, I only know him socially. But yet they go to a different flashback. This was on one of the cash trips where they're sitting in the living room. There's Ashley and her, and I think it was Kay that was sitting there, if I'm not mistaken. And she says, look, at one point when Timo and her were separated and going through their supposed divorce, they were seeing other people, and Chris Samuels was one of them. Mm-hmm. Another lie. Maybe we should count those up. So I don't think that's going to turn out very well. I'm just saying, because Monique's not on the stage yet at this point. They're talking about the cannabis line, how she lied about that. She said at the last reunion, oh, no, I'm not, Giselle said, aren't you starting a cannabis line? And she was like, no, I'm not whatsoever. Nope, not doing it. And then 2 months later, when cameras go up to film, the first thing out of her mouth is, I'm starting my own cannabis line. Stacey right away, focusing towards Giselle and Ashley, says, you should have showed empathy and compassion towards her with the whole TJ situation. Giselle's like, for what? Like, TJ spoke to Eddie. He said you paid him. And then it just happened to be that Ashley and Giselle were out in LA. They came across this very well-known actress that gave them the proof that you did pay him. And we confronted you about it. You lied about it. And now we've moved on. Denied it and then moved on. And Tia says to Stacey, you cannot be the victim all the time. The things that you say, this is why you get a reaction. You get a reaction from people like a certain way. It's true. Think about it. I mean, with her. I mean, she always does that. Have you ever noticed that? I mean, really, have you ever noticed that? It's really weird. Now we're focusing on Angel. Boy, Angel wonk wonk. Here we go. So Kay apologizes for the chin check comment. And, Angel says, you remember, because Wendy kept saying, your energy changed and all that. And Angel says, after watching it back, I can see where you thought my energy changed and apologize for that. She just didn't want to drag the conflict between her and Kay on. And then we go to the catfish comment. So, because we've heard about that all season. So Giselle actually explains that usually when they've got newbies coming onto the show, there's photos of these girls, okay? So one day she goes up to production and she's like, when am I going to meet this girl? And production was like, don't be funny, Giselle, that's Angel. And she was shocked. So when they got to Nevis, this is where this catfish comment came from. This is why she said that. She wasn't being shady. She literally did not recognize her. And she said, what I don't understand is that like an hour later, we were laughing about it. The next morning we had a moment. Giselle did apologize, but she said the rest of the season, you're the one that kept bringing it up, which is true. She did. Because Angel wonk wonk, you know. Wendy made up a good point because at one point, I think she was talking to a friend of hers and she referred to Wendy with asshole lips and Forrest Whitaker eyes. And how is it okay that she talks about Wendy's aesthetics, but, you know, doesn't want anybody else talking about hers? And of course, you know, Angel apologizes for that it wasn't nice to say. Angel wonk wonk. It was funny too because Andy brought up that in social media, a lot of fans had nicknamed Kay and Angel Madness and Sadness. I didn't catch on to that, to be quite honest, but that's brilliant. I mean, hello. That is really, really brilliant. I love that. Madness and Sadness. But Ashley had bought catfish to the pony event, and, you know, she didn't find that funny. And Ashley turns around and says, you need to learn to laugh a little bit. You know, it's good for the soul. Andy addresses Ashley, saying that a lot of viewers, you know, felt as though she went beyond shady. She was more mean and nasty this season. Like, for instance, the Zen Wen in the pen comment. Ashley says she apologized for that. She really did not know the severity of the situation. She has apologized to Wendy multiple times. Wendy says that it came to her that Ashley had some sort of vendetta against her. That's why she was making these comments. And Ashley says, look, you know, when you came on to the show, you had this attitude that you were better than everybody else, which is true. I mean, how many times did this chick say, I've got 4 degrees? You know what I mean? Like Dr. Wendy. And Ashley says, you know, I don't vilify my accomplishments. Wendy says, you don't have any accomplishments to vilify. And Ashley turns around and says, I have 1 social security number. Yes, she did. And that is where the reunion ended. My jaw dropped to the floor when Ashley said that. Wow. That's all I can say. We are just putting our toes into this season's reunion. I think next reunion is going to really get into it. If you were going to rate it, what would you rate it? Maybe a 7, I guess. I mean, they're just starting to get into things. I really think it was a waste of time for cameras to come up just to film Wendy and Eddie. It was just a waste. It was such a forced scene. I mean, it really was. But can I just tell you, and I'm sure this is going to continue on throughout the reunion, but Stacey, liar, pants on fire. I mean, how many lies has this woman said over the course of even just this season? I mean, think about it. It ended with last season. She lied about TJ. her paying TJ, even though she still denies it. She lied about it. She lied about having a cannabis line. She lied about ever knowing Chris Samuels. I mean, it just keeps coming with this woman. The fascination of Stacey Rusch, which Andy has as well, is that she lies, she gets caught, doesn't care, and lets it just roll right on, just keeps going with it. I mean, it's really a pattern. Lies and deflects, and then just moves on with it. And that's why she's such a unicorn. Stacey. Liar, pants on fire. We are just starting to get into this angel whoop whoop, angel wonk wonk. She's going to be whining through the rest of the reunion. I just know it. How everybody's mean to her. She's such a victim. Angel wonk wonk. It'll be nice to see Karen come out at one point. Monique's going to come out, and I'm dying to know what Monique has to show Stacey. Like, I'm dying. So I think it's just starting. But I think it's going to be good. What do you think? What do you think of the reunion so far? I think the ladies look beautiful, every single one of them. So what do you think? How do you think it's going to go? That's what I want to know. How do you think it's going to go? Start a conversation, my breakers. Put your comments down below. And before you do, you know what to do. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, because here we break the dish.